There's a fire inside I can't contain, awakens me, it makes me want to break free. With love and courage that's guiding me, I'll walk the path wherever it's leading me. Unleash me and break free. Hear my voice and see the power that's in me. Hear my voice and see the power that's in me.
Voices of the Goddess.
Welcome back to another episode of Voices of the Goddess, where brilliant women come to take a break from their successful and sometimes overwhelming lives to level up, live free, and create abundance.
If your hectic life has you feeling a bit lost, if you're building your career, brand, or business, or if you simply want to get the most out of life, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Julietta Wenzel, founder of Body and Soul PT and Soul Candy.
And I'm your co-host, Graciela Laurent, professional portrait photographer specializing in boudoir and personal branding.
Whether you're relaxing with a cup of coffee or running around town, we've got you.
Whatever you're doing, thanks for bringing us along and sharing a laugh.
Here comes the magic. There we are. Good morning, Graciela.
Hi.
And good morning to our audience.
There we go. I love that our screen always tells us it's showtime.
It is showtime, and we are live. I think it would be funnier if it said alive.
Well, both, right? Both.
I think we're both.
I feel pretty both. I don't know. I've been feeling pretty alive lately, I have to tell you. We were talking the other day about cacao and how it's like made positive changes for us. And for me, I'm finally starting to not answer the question, how are you, with I'm tired, which is really exciting.
That is exciting.
It is. It's hard for me to carve out time to do the things I want to do. And it's been really satisfying to be able to carve it out just a little bit at a time, to add certain rituals and things like that to my day. And I feel like it's finally starting to pay off, like I'm finally not feeling exhausted all the time, which is exciting. So, yeah.
I think that's true. Anytime you take something on, like creating the space for it in the beginning seems difficult, but once you create the space for those things that nurture you and heal you and lift you up, it makes it easier to get all the other things that you need to get done.
Yeah, it's believe me, when however long ago now, I thought about waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I just can't do it. Like, I've been trying to do this for years. Like, particularly things got tough after I had kids. Like, then I was up all the time. And it took a while to recover from that. I mean, my kids are 14, but anyway, getting up early has been really good for me, and I find that, like, the more I do one good thing, quote unquote, the next good thing just becomes that much easier, and so it's just like a little roller coaster of flow, it's not perfect yet, but it feels much better than it did, what do we call it? BC, before cacao.
Before cacao. Oh, I love it. So we've been up to a lot since we were last here recording.
We really have been, right? Like, this whole, like, everything has just snowballed so quickly for us. I feel like we've done a lot in the time that we've been together, really.
Yes. So first thing we did was we had our retreat in Mexico, in San Miguel de Allende, for Day of the Dead. And the retreat center we were at is called Sagrada Ranch, which Sagrada, translated to English, means sacred. And I feel like the whole experience was the epitome of sacredness, from, when we arrived at the ranch. I was not expecting that. Were you?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, I wasn't even sure what was happening when we first got there. I was like, why don't they want us to finish walking up the steps?
Yeah. So like before we even stepped onto the ranch, they had someone there to do a cleansing. And so I feel bad. Like we've been so busy since we got back. I haven't posted most of the pictures and the videos. And so I did and I don't even think I showed you yet, but I took a video of her cleansing you. And it felt very special to be greeted that way. And we got flower wreaths for our hair and just hugs and a warm welcome from everybody. So like just from the instant we stepped on the ranch, it was incredible. And after our lunch that day, that cacao ceremony was so special.
Yeah, I have to say, I thought that, I keep comparing it to like my experience at the Ritz-Carlton or something like that, like a really nice hotel. And honestly, it was like Ritz-Carlton level experience, but like with heart. And I know that we talk about love all the time, and maybe that sounds a little too woo for somebody, but like, I've never seen a business other than our own, frankly. No. But I've never, it is rare, I'll say it like that, to see a business that is a business, because at the end of the day, it's a business, but that was so dedicated to our literal joy and experience. Like, I keep harping on the fact that, like, it was so clean. And this is a place that's out in a desert. Like, there's nothing but dust, literally in the air. And yet, every surface, and I'm the type that I like swipe my finger over the counter and then I swipe it under just to check. And it's like everything was so clean and so beautiful. And then like how everyone just presented themselves and how we were greeted, not just with one person to cleanse us, but with the entire team. I mean, they were all standing there. Like, I've never felt so VIP. This must be what it feels like to be Beyonce. I don't know, but it was just incredible. And they did it in such a way that it just felt so authentic. Like everything that they did felt like they really cared, like that one day where I wasn't feeling so hot and the chef changed the menu just for me and made me chicken soup. Like, who does that? Like that's incredible. And it's all homemade. Like, it's literally a lady making the same recipe that she made when she was little, yeah, it was pretty incredible. But the ceremony of everything, I think, I agree, it added to how magical the place is.
When I feel like, I've attended probably more cacao ceremonies than I can remember over the years. And while on some level I appreciated them and enjoyed them, they didn't have the meaning that they have today. And then since we've started our own cacao journey here, that's elevated my relationship with the plant, to a whole new level. But then going and experiencing it with this woman in Mexico, like I feel like it's taken my understanding, my connection, my reverence for the cacao medicine, like to a whole new level. And I think that also then became reflected in our cacao ceremony, breath work, sound meditation, sound bath feast event that we had Friday night at the studio. Like it's all just layering and taking everything up to the next level. And, being able to take our candle from our Mexican ceremony and have that here present in our Florida ceremony, like it just brought an extra level of specialness and extra energy. And it's going to maybe sound weird to say, but I almost feel like it brought in like the sacred ancestry of cacao ceremony to the event Friday night.
For sure. I think, we talk sometimes about like how water has a memory, and how, objects have memories, right? I mean, I'm sure you've seen one of the tests they do to pick the next Dalai Lama is put the potentials in front of these objects and have them select the objects that was theirs. I don't doubt that that's a symbiotic relationship, right? So bringing a candle back from Mexico isn't just, oh, cool, that was the same candle. Like, no, it absolutely has
the energy of that event was
absolutely.
in the candle that we then brought to the event here. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love bringing in all the elements. I'm just finishing up braiding sweetgrass, which I'm going to like have to become an evangelist for it, because it is hands down. And I'm an avid reader. It's one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. It's I think Elizabeth Gilbert is the one that called it Hymn of Love to the World. And that might be the best description of the book that I can think of.
Yeah.
But in there, she talks about how humans are the newer species, and the plants have been here and they predate us by so much. And like you said the other day, the plants are doing their very best. Like, the plants are doing everything that they can to support us and save us and help us. And there's a lot to be said for treating them in that way, treating them in that sacred way, I don't know. It's just, it's really, really special. I mean, forget what cacao actually does for you. Just creating that ceremony around it for me has been so incredibly special.
And we keep saying the word ceremony over and over again. And being part of these traditional ceremonies and seeing the sacredness in the rituals of these ceremonies it got me thinking about, our modern ceremonies, like we have wedding ceremonies and retirement ceremonies and, like even birthdays. Good morning, Erin. We have a listener. And yes, there still is some sacredness in many of the ceremonies that we have, but it seems like most of our modern day ceremonies have become so commercialized and just, I feel horrible saying this, but I feel like they're disrespectful on some level and lacking the true reverence of the moment. And like, yes, it's important to get together and be joyful and to celebrate, but when it becomes like a drunken, free for all, how is that honoring the couple that are getting married or the person that's retiring?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, drunken free for alls have been parts of, ceremony for thousands of years. So I don't know, but I will say that I think that if a modern ceremony can be approached in a way that is calm and peaceful and reverent and joyful, then go for it. You know what I mean? Spend $100,000 on your wedding. If you have it and that works for you, do it. But if you realize in the middle of all this that like you're hating it and you're hating forcing people to get ready and you're hating picking this and you're hating this and you're paying for that and I have to do that, like if you're not enjoying it, then you're killing it. Like you're ruining the whole purpose of it, because I think you can create sacredness anywhere, but when you're not even listening to the ceremony because you're so busy worrying about other little pieces of it, right, of the logistics of it, then you're kind of killing the magic. That's how I see it. Like I think a simple 2-person wedding on a mountaintop is just as valid as a 600-person wedding, at I keep saying the Ritz-Carlton, like it's the only place on the planet, but the Ritz-Carlton, right? Like that's great. It's super cool. And both can be equally as sacred or as not sacred if you don't come in with the right intentions, So I think it's the intention part that I'm most,
exactly
worried about, but worried about,
But so many people are doing it like because it's what they should do. It's because they have to impress people. It's because they have to create perfection. And what they need to do is create honor and sacredness and intention and reverence. And when that is there, the rest of it can look however you want. But and I was thinking about the rituals as well, and participate. I think that's part of our cacao experience, is that we do make it a ritual. It's not, I mean, you can make drinking your coffee a ritual in the morning if you do it with intention, but most people are just throwing that coffee in their cup and running with it and like using it to jack them up so that they can make it through the day. Whereas if they just like slow down and say, because coffee comes from a plant as well. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of what is available out there has that poor coffee bean has been so disrespected. It's been poisoned and contaminated. And, so, and I understand, to get organic, well-treated, fair-traded coffee, it costs a lot more money and not everybody can afford that. But if you can at least sit and like honor the coffee and, be grateful for it, to the energy that it gives you to get through your day, it can be a different experience than just, sipping it frantically in the car as you drive to work in the morning.
Exactly. I think even water can be like that, right? Like, speaking of not affording, like if you're not a coffee drinker at all, like, okay, you're drinking something, you're drinking coffee or water, whatever it is. Like, it's just sitting in that gratitude. It really does come down to mindset. And I think that's what can make such a huge difference in someone's life, right? So to me, it's not as important what you're consuming, it's how you're consuming it, right? It's really, honestly, it's how you're living your life. Are you driving crazily, or are you driving mindfully? Are you having conversations in a rush, or are you having conversations intentionally? There you go. Intention, presence, and purpose. That's right, Erin. Thank you.
Like, I think about, you get to the light turns red, like when you're in a hurry going somewhere, and you can either like let it get you more pissed off and more stressed out because you're running late, or you could go, thank you, universe, for giving me this moment to stop and take a few deep breaths and calm myself down before I go forward. Yeah. I mean, we can always look at things from a different perspective and shift it so that it's positive instead of negative.
And I'll say that sometimes it's good to have help, it's because it's so easy to fall back into the craziness of the day to day, particularly I was thinking this morning as I was driving the kids to school, like driving in South Florida is like running the gauntlet. It really is. It's like every time you drive, it's an adventure. You have to think about yourself and you have to think about what all the other cars are doing and hope that they're paying attention, and half the time they're not. This morning I literally was going through a very, very, very solidly green light. Like, it was a ways green by the time I got to the intersection, and a truck got tired of waiting for the red light, right, going the other direction, and it just went. And I was like, okay, there it goes. Like, the guy just went in front of me. And you know what? All I had to do was like take my foot off the gas and let him go and then keep on going. Like, it was fine. That could have been a seminal moment in my day. I could have launched into a tirade, right? But it was easy enough just to say, okay, thank you for this pause. Thank you for, bringing me to sharp awareness again. Maybe my mind had been drifting because of a song I was listening to or whatever. Like, thank you for bringing me back to that. So, it reminds me of what we were talking about when we did our soulful manifestation evening, talking about rituals. Like, why, the word ritual and ceremony, we usually think of those things when it comes to big things, right? Like weddings and, I don't know, sacrificing animals, whatever, whatever it is that you're thinking about. But ceremony and ritual can be little things that you do in your day, and so one of the reminders that I love, I used to have this in my car, was a tiny, tiny little wind chime. And every time you slow down or sped up, or the car moved a little bit or rocked back and forth, like when you do a complete stop, how you're supposed to, it would do a little, and just that little thing was like just a quick 2-second reminder of like, ground yourself, look outside, notice something, just put yourself in that right mindset, So anyway, that's what I was going to say about getting some help, like if you can't find a way to get out of your head and into the present moment. Do little things like that. Help yourself.
And asking others for help, but also, I think about our cacao ceremony, soulful manifestation, being there in a group, in a tribe of like-minded women. And sure, any of those women could have created that experience for themselves, but when we come together and do it, it just amplifies the power of anything. So, even if just two people get together with an intention of creating something, it becomes so much more than you doing it on your own. And I think that's a big part of our intention here, is to create community, to create tribe. And you talk about that fairly often with your native connection. Back in the day, like, community lived together, and they all nobody did anything alone. Like, yes, you had your family, but like you said, they were living in teepees, so you could hear when the mother next door was losing her mind, and you could head on over there and support her. And we live in houses with big fences around them, and everybody ignoring everybody else. And
Everybody's scared of everybody else, because I'll be honest with you, like, even in my own neighborhood, there are neighbors that I'm concerned about. There are neighbors that I'm like, I don't know if I feel comfortable going over there and being neighborly. So it's really hard to find that community. So for me, us creating this is really something that I'm doing, not just for everybody else, but for myself too, right? Like, I want to hang out with people that have the same values and have the same understanding, and that are looking for the same connection. And one of the things that I loved about our event, I call it introvert friendly. Like, I know that there is a lot of social anxiety out there, and I know that there's a lot of feeling very self-conscious, right? Like, what do I wear, and what am I supposed to do, and what's going to happen when I get there? And so that's why I love that we put so much effort into explaining everything so that you could understand it. We sent out a juicy email in advance so that people could get, like, okay, this is what it's going to be like. Here's what you need to bring. Because it is kind of weird and terrifying if you've never been to, that type of event before, but I love mostly that some people stayed completely silent the entire night and didn't share anything. And then other people felt compelled to speak and share something. And it's all valid. Like, it's all good. Our friend Karen Prescott always says, just be. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? That's the magic, where you just get to be yourself.
what I also find interesting, my office is a very safe space to speak about all things woo, spiritual, meaning of life, whatever. And, especially women, but some men too, come in and, they get to talk about this stuff, and they get to share, and they get to ask questions. And they all say to me, like, I can't talk about this with my friends. But I really think everybody can, because everybody, like, behind the scenes, they're coming and this is what they're talking to me about. And then they think that nobody else is okay talking about it. And I highly suspect if people started sharing that side a little bit more with the people around them, they might be surprised at how many people actually step up and say, yeah, me too. But if you are too afraid to do that with your friends, like, we wholeheartedly invite you to come to our events and find your tribe, and find the people that are operating from their heart and looking to create positivity and love in this world, and people that want to lift each other up and hug each other. And
or you just see that it exists. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of, and I talk about this all the time, but there's a lot of terrible things happening in the world constantly, all the time immemorial, right? Like, always, there's always someone being oppressed. There's always something terrible happening. There's always something negative, whether it's in your personal life or on a global scale and everything in between. And also, I will say that at the same exact time, there are amazing, beautiful things happening in this world. And don't forget that too, like I do think it's our responsibility to be aware of and support wherever you can on all of those negative things that are happening. And also, I think it's even your bigger responsibility to find the joy, and if you can't find it by yourself because you're locked in your house and you are, addicted to the news, like take a break, man, just come out and take a breath, because the only thing that changes the world is love. And the only way to do that is to find a bit of joy, and if you're like, man, I cannot find it, I can't find the joy, just come sit, literally come sit and breathe for a while.
If you are interested in coming and experiencing these things that we're talking about, if you go on votgpodcast.com and fill out the newsletter form, the contact form to receive the updates on when we are having events, what new events are coming up, and Graciela and I are about to sit and have our powwow and plan out the schedule. There's still a few events happening this year, like it is the holiday season, so there's not a lot of space for too many things, but there is still some chakra balancing. There's I think I have a blue ones, the channelings. Say what?
I said you have a Blue Ones night coming up.
Yes, one more Blue Ones of this year. And we also have our heart-centered networking. I feel like that is it's so needed. There's so much support there for us soft-hearted business owners that are trying to make it out there in that scary business world out there. And also finding ways to do it in ways that resonate with us, as opposed to following, sometimes when I've sat with business coaches and they tell you have to do things this way, and this is how it works in the business world. And when it doesn't resonate with my heart, it's not okay with me. And, I know that's why I struggled in business for so long, was because everything I was told that I had to do to be successful did not resonate with me. It did not feel good in my heart. It did not feel good in my gut. And I kept pushing through because, this is what the experts said. And it doesn't have to be that way. There's, you can make it your own way.
Absolutely. And I also want to take a second and remind everyone that, you're an energy healer, and that is probably a super under what's the word I'm looking for? Like that doesn't even scratch the surface of who you are and what you do and how you help people. So yes, the podcast is an amazing resource, and yes, we have a lot of group events, and also we help people individually. I recently got my Reiki Master Teacher certification, and so I have a space here in the studio dedicated to that. My photography has huge healing and transformative components to it. And what Julietta does is just magical. So we're here for you any which way. I'm fond of saying, if it feels like you're doing it the hard way, you probably are. There really is no need to suffer. There really isn't. Even with personal tragedies, even with deaths in your family, even with medical diagnoses, like everything that could possibly be hitting on you, there's space to grieve, and there's space for joy too. You can do both.
And speaking of that, you brought me back to our Day of the Dead. And one thing that I love about that is it's really focused on celebrating and honoring our ancestors who have crossed over to the other side. And it's real easy to get caught in the grief of losing someone. And but there's so much more to it. And knowing that their presence is still there and celebrating that and honoring that and connecting to that is is so beautiful. So looking forward to future sacred journeys to San Miguel and other places in the world too.
I know these next couple years are going to bring some big adventures for us. We have more international events planned, definitely going back to San Miguel. That we are just scratching the surface of Mexico. That was really amazing and so beautiful. I've never seen so many marigolds in my entire life. In a place like that, not even at Home Depot. All the other places that we have on our list of places to go, and our local things that we're going to do and are doing, honestly. Like it's been a year of at least a year, if not more, of chakra balancing. Well, more than a year, because we started at my space. So yeah, at least a year and a half of chakra balancing evenings and all of that. So there's definitely stuff, available. And it's not just us, if you don't resonate with us, that's okay. There are a ton of people doing this work, and let's find the right spot for you. Just like I tell everybody, I'm not the perfect photographer for everybody, but I vibe who I vibe with, right? So whatever, however we can help, even if it's to tell you that it's not us, that's okay too. Is that bad?
Absolutely. All right, my dear. I feel like the show it's complete. Are you complete?
I am complete. I feel really good, and I'm excited for everything that is to come. And I hope you guys can find little ways in your life to create your own rituals and ceremonies and find your people and love them hard.
Yeah, love them real good. All right, everybody. Graciela and our audience, have a magical, magical day.
Thanks for joining us today and keeping us in the top 10% of podcasts in the world.
Ask us how you can promote your business on this podcast as a sponsor, and make sure you check out the show notes for details on how to get in touch with Julietta, Graciela, or today's special guest.
We're sending you lots of love and gratitude. Have a magical day.